is one of us.
Please join in with us, rising as you are able, and gather the Spirit. So glad we have gathered to celebrate today. And I want to tell you, it is wonderful to be here at Davies Memorial, a place that I have always suspected is filled with many messiahs. I have memories of this place going back 30 years, and I'm much younger than you think. I can remember coming over here to Grace Griffith's Cafe Florian. Anybody here remember that? Yeah? Sitting at the piano and playing my little tunes and the open mics with the dark lights and the spotlight. It was great music, great poetry. Being right across the river in Virginia, I've always been able to keep track of the ongoing story of the life and activities of this congregation. I was a friend of Bill and Joyce Carr. Anybody remember them? And I've been friends and colleagues of a lot of your ministers and religious educators over these years, and a number of your leaders and members, because you have had leaders that participated in our Washington area. I'm here from the Unitarian Universalist Church of Arlington, where Natalie did her internship, and I bring you greetings from that congregation in Virginia. And I I got to tell you, you've got a great turnout, so I think there's a lot of folks here, colleagues, religious educators and ministers who have a lot of regard for Natalie, and they bring greetings from all of their congregations, so the Washington area and Baltimore and Harford County, Maryland has come down to give you greetings. And I don't know if you know it, but your trustees of the Unitarian Universalist Board of Trustees, National Board, is here. Natty Averett, glad she's here to join us. So your day, your celebration is honored by many. And today, of course, is a new day and a great day in the life of this congregation. And I was really, really pleased when Natalie, my friend, my colleague, and your soon-to-be installed minister, invited me to be here and to speak to you. As Gabrielle told you, Natalie and I have been looking at each other and sort of hitting elbows with each other every now and again. Can't believe what's going on. We're an interesting pair. She is a called parish minister, heading up the Religious Education Association, and I am a lifelong career religious educator who's just been elected to be the next president of the UU Ministers Association. And we feel that this is probably the first time in the history of the world that something like this has happened. And we got to wonder if that means there's something going on in the world, that this could happen, that we could have this sort of understanding of something in the history of Unitarian Universalism or in our culture, a new chapter that might be written. It stirs the imagination about what we might be able to do if we cast away our old definitions and stereotypes and labels. Isn't that kind of an interesting thought? And today, I want to talk with Unitarian Universalists about how you are an important part of this amazing, imaginative possibility that could happen, and you could be really key players in it. Your congregation, named after the great A. Powell Davies, who was so key, so essential to the growth of liberal religion in the D.C. area in the 1950s and 40s. Your congregation has been through so many chapters in the past 6 decades. Beginning as a traveling congregation in the 1950s when you didn't even have your own home, incorporating in 58, and then meeting in various different locations until this building was built. Going through all different kinds of experiences of leadership and suffering. You have contributed a lot of leaders to our movement. Here's a little bit of trivia. It just dawned on me a couple of months ago. I personally am only the 3rd woman ever chosen to be president of the UU Ministers Association. Do you know who the 2nd woman ever chosen was? Kendall Gibbons. Kendall Gibbons grew up in this congregation. So I just thought that was interesting. You have contributed lots of leaders like Kendall, through the good times and the bad times, through your ups and downs. But you know what? Through it all, I have sensed in this congregation a faithful commitment to this imaginative way of being in the world, a vision of being liberal religious community, a presence in southern Prince George's County, and lately your commitment to multiculturalism and inclusiveness and people with many diverse identities, racial, economic, sexual orientation. You've been embodying it. It's become more than just a vision, more than just a dream. Who can live in our world now and not be aware of how precarious things are? There are economic dangers worldwide and in southern Prince George's County. There are extremists on both sides that threaten those of us who want to walk the sane and reasonable pathway of life. And according to all the surveys, if you can trust them, trust is at an all-time low. People are no longer optimistic or trusting of institutions, the historic institutions. And so that is why a place like Davies is more important than ever. When religious community as an institution is at risk, we need to figure out how do we respond faithfully. Recent surveys have shown that just when people are needing a saving and hopeful and imaginative religious message more than ever, the fastest growing demographic in religious identity is none, the nuns, N-O-N-E-S. Nuns. In other words, when they ask you to check what you are on a survey, more and more people are checking none. It's growing faster than anything else. And yet these are people that need and want and long for spiritual depth, meaningful commitment to other people, community, but they don't believe it can happen in organized religion. And so we face a real crisis. The crisis is not at all different from the story that we heard just a few minutes ago that Denise shared with us. Who will come here? And who are we and how can we be different to help this community? Each of you have in your hands the great truth that the faithful few found in that monastery. Each of you knows that within yourself and with those around you, you have what you need to help the world and to grow stronger and to be the welcoming community that is so needed by so many people in these troubling times. Clarissa Pinkola Estes said, "In these times, do not lose heart. We were made for these times." In a letter she wrote to a young activist during troubled times, she said, "We were made for these times. I have heard from so many recently who are deeply and properly bewildered. And I say to you, one of the most calming and powerful actions you can do to intervene in a stormy world is to stand up and show your soul. The light of the soul throws sparks. It can send up flares. It builds signifiers. It causes proper matters to catch fire. To display the lantern of your soul in shadowy times like these, to be fierce and to show mercy towards others, both are acts of immense bravery and greatest necessity." She says, struggling souls catch light from other souls who are fully lit and willing to show it. If you would help to calm the tumult, this is the strongest thing you can do. So, we were made for times like these because, in fact, I want to thank you for being here and being faithful all these years because you were made for times like these. Because our faith tradition of open-mindedness and a theology of universal love is our gift. And you are poised to be the right person for these times. One way you're poised is that you can always see beyond the old ways of thinking about roles and possibilities. I mean, look at this. You called someone who is a famous leader in religious education and said, she's our parish minister. We can really believe that the person next to us can be the leader for us. Maybe he's the child. Maybe she's a religious educator. Maybe he's from a different racial identity than you are. Maybe she speaks a different language than I do. But we can all break through our old expectations and assumptions about people and see each person and their soul as unique and powerful. And we won't waste a single chance to learn from each other and to see in each other and see in all of us the pathway forward. And you don't have to lean on one great leader, although you've got one great leader here, but you don't have to lean on just one great leader when you can see that each of us is a Messiah. Each of us can collaborate together and bring our own gifts and offer salvation. So that's one reason why you are uniquely poised to be the light to Prince George's County. But the other reason I think that's so important that our theology and you can offer to this hurting world is that we have decided to see honestly the world as it is. The real world we live in. We name all of its troubles and injustices and inequalities and idiocies. We can do that. And we can have the imagination to see, to really see the world as it should be. A world where anyone can be your leader, regardless of their identity. A world where a little congregation, a small group of committed souls, can be a vital part of an empowering neighborhood. Maybe a vital part of empowering the country. So we do not have to sit around and sing sad songs waiting for a heaven in the future. We can celebrate here and now. We can gather the Spirit and celebrate and sing our joyful songs to bring the light of our imaginings, our faithful imaginings, into the here and now. William Wordsworth said, faith is a passionate intuition. And Henry Ward Beecher said, faith is spiritualized imagination. And that's the kind of faith that you are called to bring, that you have for all these years. A colleague of ours here in this Joseph Priestley district, Josh Schneider, serves the Wilmington congregation, told me a really interesting story the other day. He's a big hockey fan. He's from Michigan, ice hockey. He's from Michigan. And he was telling me the story about Wayne Gretzky. Anybody here a hockey fan know about Wayne Gretzky? Okay, well, if you don't know Wayne Gretzky, he apparently is considered one of the greatest hockey players of all time. He has the most goals scored in his career. And even more importantly, he has twice as many assists as he does goals. So anyway, Josh told me that when Wayne was a little boy, growing up in his parents' house, they didn't have a lot of money, but they would practice hockey in the house, and then they'd put water out in their yard and they'd freeze it and practice it on that. And he was getting really good even when he was a really little boy. And Wayne remembered always, that when he was working on how to skate really well and be able to get that puck and get it to somebody else, his dad gave him some advice, and he said this is what made all the difference, and this is why he was the greatest hockey player. His dad said, never skate to where the puck is. Skate to where you think the puck is headed. So you have to have some skills, some experience, some wisdom. You have to see what's really going on, but you have to have that imagination to see where things are headed and get yourself there. And you will become the greatest hockey scorer and have the most assists because you'll be able to help other people then to get to that puck. That's the kind of faith, the faith of imagination that keeps us keeping on in spite of it all. And this is the kind of faith that we can hold out to ourselves and to a hurting world. Do not lose heart, for we were made for these times. And all of you, all of us together in partnership with our ministers and religious educators, with the longtime faithful leaders and the brand new leaders coming in our doors, with the youth and the elders, all of us together can come together to support each other and to see in each other's souls that larger vision. Each of you has an imagination, and you can celebrate and sing that imagination, that intuition of where things are headed, this multicultural, multi-generational world that is happening is the hope, is the place for us to be, to meet all of the angst and worries of this world. So be faithful to that imagination, because people need your kind of faith in this world. Give light, and people will find the way. Give light, and people will find the way. Give light, and people will find the way. People will find the way, I do believe. Davies, you are a light. You have been a light, a beacon, and you're going to be a light. You have stayed the course and accepted the challenge. You may feel small, you may feel like things have been a struggle, but you know what? You have not done a single small thing. You have done a huge thing by being here. Give light. Share the light. Be the soulful, imaginative, faithful light that the world needs. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Turn to your neighbor and say, let your light shine. Turn to another neighbor and say, you are the light of the world. Turn to somebody else and say, it is good to be in church today. I'm David Carl Olson. I'm the minister and first servant at First Unitarian Church of Baltimore. Natalie and I have a point of view that I want to share with you. And this point of view is that, guess what? Ministers cannot do it all. I don't know if you've heard that before, but ministers cannot do it all. Turn to somebody and say, ministers cannot do it all. But if we are about lifespan faith development, which is what I think ministers and educators are about together, we are about building capacity. That's what we're up to. We're building capacity with one another. We're giving each other tools. We're giving each other encouragement. We're helping people to have that kind of prophetic imagination that Sister Olson-Peebles just spoke about. We need to have power. We need to have strength. We need to have equipment. We need to have the ability to act in this place and in the world. Now, some of us think about power as being this awful thing. Oh God, it's corrupting and all this stuff. But to me, power is kind of cool. The problem is I don't have enough. Now, I'm not talking about power over. I'm not talking about coercive power. I'm talking about power with. I'm talking about us leaning on one another, strengthening one another, joining our efforts with one another, allowing our imaginations together to be turned into something that's going to change us and going to change the world. And there's another kind of power, and that's money power. And I don't mean money that's just kind of floating around. I mean money that's organized. I mean money that's intentional. I mean money that says, I'm going to do something in the world. So we're going to take a collection. And I want a powerful collection. And I'm not saying that just means lots of zeros. Especially if they don't have a number in front of them. But I want to say, I want you to put some money in that basket that's organized money, that's intentional money, that's money that's going for something. And the two things that the money's being collected for today are for the Living Tradition Fund, which supports the work of ministers, and Loretta, which supports the work of our religious educators. And I will say, I can't imagine a more important thing for us to do with our organized money today than to give generously, because you know what? You're generous people. You are generous people. And you know what? Ours is a liberal, generous, free faith. And so I'm going to ask you to put your money where my mouth is and to live into your generosity, to live into your liberality and freedom, to live into your sense that yes, we can be the light of the world. And yes, we can build capacity with one another to change the world into the world that our imagination allows us to see. Give freely. Thanks.
like a scripture verse. Made me wanna bow my head. I remember when church let out, how things have changed since then. Everything is holy now. Used to be a world out there, heaven's second rate.
No right is more precious to a free congregation than that of choosing its own minister. At the same time, no right is more precious to a Unitarian Universalist minister than that of choosing his or her congregation. We began our search 3 years ago. Reverend Fenimore began her search 1 year ago. Blessedly, our searches converged, and upon a unanimous vote to call her and her acceptance of our call, we are now gathered to install the Reverend Natalie Maxwell Fenimore into the ministry of Davies Memorial Unitarian Universalist Church. We, the members of Davies Church, are gathered here to reaffirm, renew, and rededicate ourselves to the principles and values of our faith tradition. We are here to covenant with Reverend Fenimore in a shared ministry that will enable us to search for and speak our own truths to each other openly, honestly, and respectfully. Share our joys and sorrows, minister to each other, and share the good news of this liberal faith tradition with all those who are searching for us. Reverend Fenimore, are you willing to take up these shared responsibilities and to be our minister?
I am.
If you, the members of Davies Church, will please rise, as if you are able, to accept the responsibilities of partnership with Reverend Natalie Maxwell Fenimore. Please say with me. Natalie Maxwell Fenimore, we have chosen you to be our shared ministry of our church. We offer you a congregation eager to seek the truth and to live our lives according to our principles and our covenant. We offer you our free and unfettered pulpit and pledge to covenant with you in unity of spirit and the bond of peace in our search for the beloved community. We hereby install you to lead our shared ministry.
Thank you. In deep appreciation and with a deep and even deeper sense of responsibility, I take up our shared ministry. I enter into a covenant with you so that together we might best do the work of our faith and the work of this community. I hope that we do this work in determination and in celebration. I accept the honor and the challenge of journeying with you as your called minister. Thank you.